Right after I graduated from college, I started working, saving a large portion of my income in my bank account. I saved millions and eventually achieved financial independence. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Although saving a portion of your income isn't a bad idea at all, it won't lead to financial independence on its own. Why? Let's delve into that in this video. Most people are taught to graduate from school, get a good job, and save a part of their income for so-called rainy days. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, except for one thing. If you're one of the 51% who don't live paycheck to paycheck, you face a very important question each month. Where should I put those saved up money? For many people, the bank is the first choice, but the correctness of this choice is, at the very least, debatable. In the past, banks served as institutions that safeguarded and protected our money. There was a time when people could go to the bank and demand the bank to give them gold for their money. It was called the gold standard, where, for instance, in the USA, every dollar was backed by gold. However, in 1933, President Roosevelt decided to abandon this gold standard, which marked a significant change in the world of finance. Moving away from the gold standard largely drove the entire economy because holding gold for every dollar is quite inflexible. Want to issue new dollars? You'd have to procure new gold. Gold, of course, helped people believe that their currency had real value. However, as we've noticed in recent decades, it works even without gold. Moving away from the gold standard meant much greater flexibility. Today, currencies are issued by states, and in the vast majority of cases, they're not backed by any commodity. So, for example, the dollar has value simply because people agree that it does. Thanks to this, a government can print money as much as it wants, and if people still believe that their money holds the same value, everything works smoothly. When you take your money and put it into a regular bank account, what's actually happening is that the bank reserves 10% somewhere in the vault and can use the remaining 90% however it wishes. Typically, what a bank does is invest that money to gain returns. Another possibility is that the bank might buy government bonds, which in America currently yield more than 5% annually, or perhaps they invest in stocks. When you put money in a regular account, the bank earns on it for you. You've probably heard the phrase, money makes money. You might be surprised, but it's true. And if you put your money in a regular account, the bank is the one making money off it, at best. But that's not all. Gradually, inflation also erodes your savings, which has been so high in the last 2 years that I don't even need to explain what it actually is. Central banks try to keep inflation around 2% annually, but they're not doing a great job. So, if a bank gives you 1% interest annually, on paper, it may seem like you've earned. However, in reality, your money has lost a part of its value. Nevertheless, many people still believe that by putting aside a portion of their income in their bank account, one day they'll become financially independent. Unfortunately, they are far from the truth. It's not remotely their fault. Schools just don't teach us these things. So, even though saving by itself is certainly a good thing, and not everyone can do it, the harsh truth is that simply by saving a part of your income, you'll most likely never achieve financial independence. So, what to do then? Personally, I invest my savings to somehow appreciate them and fight against inflation. Investment has been an effective weapon against inflation. For example, the S&P 500 index, which you've probably heard about 100 times. In the last 100 years, it has achieved an average annual return of 10.5%, and naturally, there's no guarantee it'll repeat. Nonetheless, 100 years is a fairly long time to make some sense of it. Just imagine what our world experienced during this period. There was the Second World War. There was the Cold War. Periods of high inflation, the Great Banking Crisis, inventions like the internet, a pandemic that shut down almost the entire world at home. Despite all these events, the S&P 500 index managed to ensure an average annual return of 10.5%. And even after deducting inflation, the average annual return was 7.3%. Again, it's important to note that this is historical return, and nobody knows what will happen in the future. When investing, we're always risking our capital. You might be thinking, but I'm not an expert in stocks and don't know how to analyze companies. That's perfectly okay in today's world. You can purchase ETFs mirroring the S&P 500 index at any brokerage within a few minutes. It's as simple as transferring money between bank accounts. If you don't have an investment account yet, in the video description, you'll find links to the brokers I use. Initially, you'll have to fill out a lot of details, but once you've registered, buying shares can be done in just a minute. However, I strongly recommend educating yourself in this field. There are about 1 million books, lectures, or even YouTube videos you can listen to for free and learn something. So, even if nobody taught you this in school, you still have plenty of opportunities to educate yourself. One of the options is also subscribing to this channel. So, what have we learned? Saving and stashing money away is definitely a good start. Having control over your finances and earning more than you spend is a good first step. However, many people mess it up by leaving their money lying in a bank account, where it gradually gets eroded by inflation. For completeness, I'm talking about regular accounts here. Nowadays, many banks offer an interest rate of over 5% on savings accounts, which makes them a much more interesting choice. For example, I keep my emergency fund in these savings accounts, money set aside for emergencies. In general, though, money makes money. And nowadays, investing it is easier than ever before. In just a few minutes, we can own shares in thousands of companies, and it doesn't matter that we're not financial experts. So, that's it. Thank you very much for watching until the end. If you want access to more content, access to my entire portfolio, you can check out membership on my Patreon. I'll leave the links in the description. Liking this video is still free and will help me reach more people. In return, here's a quote from Warren Buffett, who said, "The stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient." Thank you, and see you next time.